Good evening and welcome to another session of Dialogues That Matter. First on, wish you all a very happy Gauri Ganesha if you're celebrating, and a happy Ganesh Chaturthi, if you're celebrating tomorrow. Welcome to Dialogues That Matter, a series where we talk to different change makers who bring about a change in the work that they do, or in their perspective and the things that we do. Today we have with us Ridhi Golechha. Thank you so much for joining us, Ridhi.
Thank you for having me.
So a little bit about Ridhi. Ridhi is a psychologist who specializes in eating psychology as well as weight management and body image coaching. She helps basically understand your relationship between food and body and kind of helps you transform that particular relationship. Thank you so much for joining us, and that's exactly what we hope to tap into today and understand what are the different things that go into understanding your body, the food you eat and how are they related and things like that. So let's because you're also a psychologist, I think the first thing I wanted to understand is what is what does mental health mean to you, and how is food related to mental health? What's your perception on that?
All right. So thank you for the question. So basically, according to me, since I have a background in MSc psychology, which is like my primary study,
Right.
I think mental health is so important. The reason that food comes in is because, all my life, my personal relationship with food has been quite disordered up and down. I've been suffering with just periods, long periods, and I mean like years of, overeating or binge eating or emotional getting cravings all the time, and then going on a diet and then kind of restricting myself completely. And then when I get a chance, that was constant, like restricting, binging. And because of my psychology background, it actually made me wonder as to why am I stuck in this sort of a loop, right? Constantly disturbing my mental health because of my body image issues, because it was always a yo-yo, either with your body, with your weight, all of that.
Right.
And that's the reason I tried to marry the two, because for me, a good mental health also means a good emotional health, which also means a good physical health, which also then is connected to your body image, which is also connected to the food we eat every day, how you are eating it, how you are consuming it, conscious consumption of everything around you. In that sense is what mental health also means to me.
Right.
It's a more holistic perspective.
Correct. I think it reminds me of something that I have heard very much when I was growing up, is that what you eat is what you become. And of course, there's this whole concept of the sattvic food, tamasic food, rajasic food, and all of that. Could you give a little bit insight on that? How basically what you eat is what you become.
Yeah, so I mean, the sattvic and the tamasic and the rajasic is according to Ayurveda.
Right.
I'm looking at it more from a holistic perspective, including psychology of eating also behind it, right?
Correct.
Now, that being said, your moods and your foods are very intimately connected, because as you said, you eat what you become, but also you become what you eat. Right? Because today, if I am eating a certain burger or fries or sattvic food or rajasic food, whatever it is that I'm eating, also I am experiencing my emotions on that realm.
Right.
So, for example, if I am eating, let's say, a lot of onion, or I'm eating a lot of pungent food in my diet, it is also creating some sort of pungency in my behavior, in my mind. And not only that, it also creates different mood levels. So that I mean, like, let's say if I'm feeling lethargic, reaching out to the right kind of food to honor that lethargy in order to create some energy, not only just by consuming a coffee or tea or, like an external foreign substance, but with all food management along with mindset change is what really brings about this synergy between your food and your mental health, behavior, moods, what you become.
Correct. I think that makes a lot of sense. And would I be right if I had to call you, say, a food psychologist? Is that even a term?
I am a psychologist. That's
right. Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
So kind of taking that forward. So what is this term? Because I did speak to a couple of psychologists. I think food psychologist by itself is a term that's fairly new, or rather contemporary. So what does that mean? And what does the food psychologist do? Could you help us understand that?
Yeah, it's basically a term that got created out of my passion for food, I feel. And not something like a food psychologist as such, but because I
Right.
specialize in mind, body, and eating coaching, and I'm
Right.
really a psychologist. Basically, what I do is I kind of help you, everybody out here, basically change their relationship with food, and in
Right.
turn, your relationship with your body,
Right.
because you know. A lot of times what happens is, a food issue, weight issue, emotional eating, binge eating, cravings, health issues like digestion, constipation, gas, acidity, immunity, energy, fatigue, all of these are kind of stopping us from actually we're wasting so much time into what we should and shouldn't be eating, and all these food issues,
Right.
that in a way we are wasting precious life years and energy, into something that can actually be hidden under a creative genius. It's actually stopping you from living the most vibrant form of life that you actually can live.
Correct.
And in order to move on from that, we need to first address what is this that is keeping us stuck, right? So
Right.
along with gentle nutrition and with a positive mindset change, I do one-on-one therapy sessions
Right.
for people who are going through any of these issues, along with your stress, anxiety, because sometimes that stored weight, it can be the result of something like you've tried everything, right? We've tried all the diets in the world, we've probably done all the exercise, but still somehow the weight plateaus, we don't lose weight, or our weight comes back on. You lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate to it, because statistically also in our country, 90% of people are suffering. Like, they put on the weight that they've gained within the 1 year after they finish the diet, So then
Right.
what is that for? So this is exactly the work I do, where, I understand what is going on, because sometimes beneath that weight could be a hidden past trauma or some pain
Right.
we are holding on to. There are
Right.
so many things that make us who we are, and how we relate to the world. So that being said, this is what a food psychologist essentially does, uh,
Right.
by kind of holistically looking at your emotional as well as your physical health, finding the connections between your emotions, your metabolism, your calorie burning, your moods, your foods, and then creating an eating rhythm, or a customized plan, nutritional tweaks, based on you. Because
Correct.
that's why I believe that every person is so unique, right? Every body is so different.
Right.
So a certain kind of diet, if somebody else, like your friend or your cousin or your relative, is following that, and we say, okay, you know what, they lost weight on that diet, so let me try it, and maybe it doesn't work on us, or maybe it works for a while and then we can't do it, and we end up actually blaming ourselves,
Right.
but there's something
Right.
wrong. I'm
Correct.
such a failure.
Yeah.
Why can't my body just adhere to this? What is the problem? That
Right.
is the whole key issue, that if there are 7 billion people in this world, so well, there are also 7 billion kinds of ways of eating. So I'm here to actually
Right.
help you discover that and explore that for yourself.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because our body constitutes of the food that we eat partially, and of course, the way that we are will depend on what we eat. Which kind of brings me to exactly what you're doing, water, right? So water is also an important constituent in our body. Could you talk to us a little bit about the importance of water and how that's a key element as well?
Absolutely. I think so. Water is so important. Like, it's 70% of our bodies
Right.
are water. Like, we are made of water.
Right.
Okay. So many ways that we lose water in. So one, we'll talk about that, and secondly, we can also talk about how water has memory, because every time we are consuming water,
Right.
molecules have memory. So conscious consumption of water,
Right.
along a good amount of hydration level, because like today we're sitting in AC, we are, human bodies are not made to sit in AC now, especially with the lockdown and things like that. Our movement has reduced, we are confined to closed rooms and in front of screens. So there's
Right.
already a lot of dehydration from the eyes. Also, our
Right.
bodies are constantly dehydrating because of sitting in this AC room. So
Right.
the need for replenishing our water intake just increases tenfold, given the scenario of today's day and age, right?
Correct.
And we don't realize how much our eyes get dehydrated because
Right.
of dire screen thing, right? So that is one. So definitely a good 3 liters of water consumption is essential
Right.
in today's day and age. And
Right.
also consciously consuming it. For example, why we should sit down and drink water and not, be drinking it while standing up or moving and things like that is
Right.
something we can include.
Correct. Correct. I think that kind of answers a lot of questions, right? Which kind of brings me to something that you brought up when you were trying to explain to us how we kind of assess the relationship between our body and the food we intake, which is these terms that are thrown to us, right? When you think about, especially if you think about the relationship between your body and the food that you eat, you hear terms like binge eating, overeating. There are a couple of disorders that come to your head, be it bulimia, anorexia. There's emotional eating. There are those one-offs that you have where you go all out and have junk food. So there are a lot of these things that come into the picture. Could you kind of break this down to us and help us understand how are these different? How does one get into a pattern of each of these particular things? I know it's very vast, but if you could just help us understand a little bit.
Yeah, so it is a very deep topic, and I can go on and on talking about it.
Right.
But in a nutshell, if I
Right.
explain, see, a bulimia or an anorexia is a condition caused due to anxiety.
Right.
Okay, it is some sort of a body image issue,
Right.
which translates into our body because in an anorexia, a person thinks that they are way fatter than they actually are. So they see a distorted image of themselves in the mirror. So, if somebody's suffering with anorexia, basically, people will keep telling them to eat more, eat more, eat more, you're so skinny, things like that. And the person themselves cannot make peace with that. That actually aggravates the situation. Because when this person is looking into the mirror, they actually find themselves um, 8 to 10 times larger than they actually are. And
Right.
that's a serious condition that is diagnosed as anorexia.
Right.
And bulimia, in which a person, and guys, if anybody listening to this, if you can relate to any of these symptoms, it's important to reach out for help, right? Because especially anorexia and bulimia are sort of more difficult conditions to deal with on your own, and they also harm your body over the years.
Right.
With bulimia, what happens is the person will eat a lot of large amounts of food, and then in order to compensate for the calories taken in, they will puke it out.
Right.
Right? What happens is it disrupts the entire inner lining of your esophagus, which is your food pipe. A lot of acid is created because imagine the food is already in the stomach. And now that food is actually being released upward. So the acid in the stomach that was meant to digest the food is also being secreted upwards where it's not supposed to be. And this is a very strong acid. So it
Right.
really erodes the lining of your lot of organs, especially your food pipe, your
Right.
throat, your mouth. You'll start seeing your teeth getting eroded, discoloration of the teeth, a lot of acidity, ear burning, that spicy liquid that sometimes comes out and we feel
Correct.
gassy.
Correct.
That is really enhanced when when you're suffering with bulimia. That being said, well, these are two medical conditions that we need to put more attention to. But, as you spoke about emotional eating or cravings or overeating and things like that,
Yeah.
these are literally general things that you and I go through.
Right.
Right? Today, if you are human on planet Earth, you are going to eat. And if you
Right.
are an eater, at some point or the other, you are going to use food as a coping mechanism.
Right.
We've done it.
Right.
Right? There are just some of us who do it a lot more than the others, and that is fine too. It's
Right.
literally like saying, I read more books than other people,
Right.
or watch more TV than other people,
Right.
and that is fine.
Right.
But you feel that this habit has become so continuous, it is starting to not allow you to actually follow a good lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle. It's not allowing you to follow a good structured routine that you've created for yourself, or it's like really making you feel guilty after every time you have an emotional eating outburst or a binge. Every time you're feeling so guilty, you're self-sabotaging, you're in constant punishment mode.
Right.
In these kind of things, become more constant and start taking over your life. A lot of us don't realize that we are spending so much time, thinking about what to eat for dinner when we're sitting at lunch, what to eat for breakfast when we're at dinner, like food, what we should eat, food obsession, food rules, then binging, then overeating, then sugar cravings. They consume so much of our life
Right.
that we don't realize, but very little energy is left for us to move forward.
Right.
So this is a short overview about, all of
Right.
these, and I can literally go on, but
Right, but I think that does give us an insight into what each of these things are. And I think one important point that you raised when you spoke about the different issues that people kind of encounter, is that it's not just about, there's this notion that, when it's a relationship between your food and body, it's not just about the extra weight. Sometimes it's also about the weight that you've lost. In the sense, it's not just about having a hefty body or a curvy body, but it's also about being, say, skimpy or skinny and things like that, which is also an issue that some people do go through, right? I think that's also something that's important that we need to kind of address. So thank you for kind of bringing that up as well. Which kind of brings me to the next question, which you did kind of touch upon, is what is this kind of relationship between comfort and sugar? We all know that when we are feeling low or glum and things like that, our go-to food are these sweet foods, either either it's a cake or some, if we, maybe like a gulab jamun, rasgulla, whatever it is. But what is this relationship between sugar and comfort? Why do we crave sugar when we are low?
do you also crave sugar when you're low?
Not really.
Okay,
I'm not. I'm a sweet person, but I don't like sweets as much actually.
right. So we all have different comfort foods.
Right.
Okay? Like, for example, sometimes some people's comfort foods might be spicy, somebody's might be sugar. A large amount of the population's comfort food is sugar. And
Right.
that's become such a thing that, oh my God, how should I control my sugar cravings?
Right.
Okay? The reason that this relationship has been formed is because sugar
Mm-hmm.
is, see, when you are lacking some form of emotional sweetness in your life,
Right.
okay, it could be in any area of your life. Okay, what I mean by
Right.
emotional is emotional pleasure, some sort of, emotional imbalance. That is the
Right.
time, subconsciously, what happens is our mind enables us or literally pushes us to reach out for external sweet. Now,
Right.
nature has made this abundantly in the form of fruit.
Right. Right.
Man has gone ahead and created sugar,
Right.
right? Sugar is not a naturally occurring substance, it is created by us. It's a
Right.
chemical compound at the end of the day. Of course, you can extract sugar from the fruits, but it's still an extraction. So
Right.
now, sugar was essentially made to make us feel good in the form of fruit,
Right.
right? Now, what happens now? This sugar cube that we have created,
Right.
the processed food, and it is chemically designed to release a lot of feel good hormones in our body.
Right.
Okay, a lot of serotonin, a
Right.
lot of endorphins. And that's why when we eat sugar, we immediately get a sense of satisfaction.
Got it.
Then pleasure, it is like satisfaction, like, okay, I'm feeling relaxed, I'm feeling relieved momentarily.
Right.
Okay, I'm good, everything is calm, everything is good, even after a long day at work, or if we've had a fight with our spouse, or if we are PMSing, or we are on our periods, or if there's any sort of discomfort emotionally,
Right.
we want to reach out for sugar.
Right.
Initially, we reached out for sugar without knowing that it's going to create such an addictive sort of physiobiology in our system.
Right.
Okay, but now what has happened is we've gotten habituated to reaching out for that high that we get because it's a heightened amount of neurotransmitters that are released, the feel good
Correct.
one.
Correct.
Right? That's why we repeatedly do this behavior, because we reach out for the sugar. It creates a very heightened energy. We feel comfort, but then what follows is a lot of guilt, a lot of
Right.
time,
Right.
right? And that's when we end up self-sabotaging ourselves.
Right.
That's when the loop gets created, because again we're
Right.
going to feel bad, again we're going to reach out for sugar, again we're going to feel good, again we're going to feel guilty, and then reach out. This loop that is constantly created. That is what we need to break. And the
Right.
reason here in the first place reaching out for sugar is because there is some sort of an emotional disturbance
Right.
always. Your
Right.
life needs some amount of sweetness, some amount of pleasure that we are not recognizing.
Right.
And that is the work that we need to do, in order. And as I said, everybody's so different, so everybody's life will be requiring a different form. So there's no one generalized, like concept that, okay, you need to do this or, that to like balance your emotions, because your journey is so unique on
Right.
this planet.
Correct.
And what might work for you might not work for me, and
True.
vice versa.
True. True. I think that kind of puts, kind of makes us understand why the craving for sweet, right? So then, how do you nip this at the bud? I mean, how do you kind of tackle this if we have to, at the root or the base when this kind of cravings kind of do arise? How does one kind of go about tackling that? Let's say if awareness, of course, but how are the other ways one could tackle at an individual level?
So that's the thing, conscious consumption again, because the dose makes the poison.
Right. Right.
And how to get there is again a very personal journey,
Right.
but something that you can all try is trying to recognize what kind of emotions are you lacking today, or
Right.
what feelings do you want to feel.
Right.
But that being said, it's a skill to start changing your relationship with food, whether it comes to sugar or any other substance that you're constantly relying upon.
Correct.
And that's the journey that I also take people through, like with a step-by-step approach, because it is so customized,
Yeah.
in order for me to understand why you are craving that sugar, in order for us to get to the root cause and then work backwards with it. So,
Got it.
that's what I said, like something that if I say something, it might or might not work for you.
Right. Right.
Because, as I said, a keto might work for somebody, might not work for somebody else.
Got it.
It's a
Makes
very
sense.
personalized journey.
Got it. Got it. I think that makes a lot of sense. Which kind of brings me to the next question. So, what would be healthy eating, in your opinion, and what are the good and bad foods? I mean, per se, if we had to kind of put a pin on it.
Okay. I don't believe in good and bad foods at all. In fact,
Okay.
that most of our health issues are, concurrent today, is because of this clear good and bad dissociation that we have. So if I'm eating a salad, I'm good because I'm eating a good food.
Right.
If I'm eating a chocolate or a dessert, I am bad because I'm eating a bad food.
Right.
Right? We label everything in life,
Right.
especially food, because it gives us a sense of control. We label everything, like whether it is, if I wake up early, I'm a good person. If I wake up late, I'm a bad person.
Right.
If I watch too much TV, I'm a bad person. If I don't watch TV and I study, I'm a good person.
Right.
There are so many things we label ourselves with. Food is one of them. Okay, so the more we end up labeling food, the less healthy we are going to be in terms of creating a holistic lifestyle, because no matter what's said and done, you're not going to not eat certain kinds of food and only eat one kind of food for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? So that being said, I like to call food more as, more nutritious and less nutritious, but all foods are good, all foods are allowed, all foods are, there's no restriction when I work with somebody,
Right.
because it's all about getting to eat it with your intuition. you
Right.
know you're then able to create that relationship with food where you know how much you require, how much your body requires, without restricting it, without completely like banning food from your life,
Correct.
eating them and still living a healthy, good, managed, weight balanced lifestyle. Because
Right.
that's when you stop emotional eating, or you stop those sugar cravings, because you are under control. You're not letting that bad food per se control you. Because
Yeah.
let's say I'm not eating something for a month, and then suddenly I see that dessert, I'm obviously not going to just be satisfied in one bite, right? I'm going to eat
Right.
a whole piece or two pieces or three pieces.
Right.
I again make sure that, okay, you know what, from tomorrow I am again going to restrict myself. So
Right.
this food, bad food labeling is something that in fact, I take people on a journey in order to clear this, labeling from people's heads, so that they can view food as food. Food is food, guys. I mean, it's all made to eat. But
Right.
again, knowing how much your body requires is key.
Right. I think food is food is a good T-shirt takeaway for us from here. That makes a lot of sense. I think the something that you did bring up, and the next thing that kind of popped into my head is as well kind of understanding the distinction between physical hunger and emotional hunger. I think sometimes the two get mingled, or am I understanding this wrong? Just as a follow up to that question would be to understand how one tackles body image issues when one is trying to understand their relationship with food. If you could kind of connect the two and talk to us about that.
Yeah, like, what happens is, so body image again, it's like, what is body image? It's the way you view yourself. So
Right.
now I'm looking in the mirror every single day and I'm hating what I see.
Right.
I'm hating my stomach. I wish my
Right.
stomach was a little smaller. I wish my arms were more toned. I wish my
Right.
thighs were like tighter. I wish I had a bigger butt. Or, whatever it is that we are constantly wishing for, even as men, like I wish
Right.
like I have a paunch, I wish I had six packs, because that's what the society has sort of portrayed as an ideal, desirable figure, right?
Right.
Now, when the image of a really hot man or a really hot actor or a really hot woman is put and it's worshipped literally on a pedestal, because this is what you need to be like,
Right. Right.
appreciate or desired
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
everyone around.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure actually on us
Right.
to look a certain way. And if we don't look that way, that means everything else that we are doing is not worth it. That is body image
Right.
issues.
Right.
Most of us are living with them, most of us. And that's when it's a vicious cycle, because if that is not spoken about to somebody you trust, it's not, um, if that body image concern is, that is not converted into good self esteem, that's when this emotional eating can start
Correct.
much more. I
Right.
am anyway like this. I anyway look bad. Whatever I do anyway doesn't work. I tried dieting. I tried working out. I've done all those punishing exercises. I've ran like 30 minutes on the treadmill. I've done everything. I've skipped meals. I have quit sugar. I have done everything, but I still have this body. So what's the point? If I am, if I am super creative, what's the point if I'm a great singer? What's the point if I'm a great writer? I'm fat.
Right.
Bottom line, that
Right.
is what body image looks like. And
Right.
then I'm already fat. So now, screw this, let me go eat another samosa, or let me go eat another vada pav, or let me go eat more cake, because that is comfortable, right? Because remember, it's creating those feel good hormones in your brain.
Right.
So it's a vicious cycle. So when you start recognizing these signs that, I am constantly looking into the mirror, just every opportunity that I get, and I'm checking myself.
Right.
I'm constantly like criticizing my body, parts of my body. Well, I am not saying that don't get onto that transformation journey. Well, that is very important. You need to live a healthy life. For that, you need a good body, and it'll be a healthy sort of internal as well as external circumstance when that happens.
Right.
But what about the process,
Right.
right? What about reaching from that 80 kilos to the 50 kilos if you have to, hypothetically?
Right.
Are you going to hate yourself into that?
Right.
That's not the only way. I mean, that is definitely the way the media talks about it, but
Right.
there are other ways that you can do
Right.
it.
Yeah, you did bring up the next thing that I did want to talk about. I think there's this whole perception, and there are these two different things, right? One is what is a healthy body, and then one there's this whole idea that we have of a perfect body, right? And a lot of this comes from the way the media, say, films, or the way we advertisements and things like that portray a particular body type, a particular like how you said, they put men or women in a pedestal and say, this is what, or how this is how a man or a woman should look like. Could you talk to us a little bit about that? What are your insight into the way media portrays this, and how does that affect uh, you know
We literally just addressed it, but
right,
so of course, all of that being said,
right,
I will
right,
repeat it once again. But basically, it is about, see, generations that are coming up. They
right,
always see everybody needs something to look up to, an inspiration in a way,
right,
right? And ideal skinny bodies are kind of made this ideal sort of thing that you have to achieve in your life. It's become like a
right,
life.
Right.
I am not saying that you don't need to kind of have a great body, but when you're obsessing about it day in and day out, due to the media or due to just things around you, the negative messages about, how a body should be. Why
Right.
should? Like, why is the word should so stuck up in our life?
Right.
I
Right.
I know this so deeply because for like all my teenagers, for like last 15 years of my life, this is what my life was about. It was obsessed about having the perfect body and the perfect life, and that, in fact, that is part of the reason why I got into this work. Like I said, because it was so interconnected with my personal life that there was no peace of mind. That is what
Right.
it steals away, right? It
Right.
steals your peace of mind, and when your peace of mind is not there, it means you're constantly stressed out about achieving something which is so far fetched sometimes.
Yeah.
Constantly sabotaging, you're constantly self punishing, you're criticizing yourself for eating everything that you're eating, you're criticizing yourself for not doing something like not working out on a bad day, but well, you have had a bad day.
Right.
Your mind is not different than your body, they are both connected.
Right.
So then, how can one not affect the other?
Right. Right.
And what media does is it portrays that no matter what, you have to achieve this
Right.
structure.
Right.
Possible, no? Because if
Yeah.
we could have, then why are 90% of us still struggling?
Right. Yeah. I think that's the thing. I mean, the actual reality and the perception of reality, right? That's exactly what the media, advertisements, and things like that do. Could you talk to us maybe with an example, maybe a client case or anything that you could use to give us an example, and talk us through the journey of how you kind of tackle this from the, from the base, and if you could break it down into steps, how much ever you can. I mean, whatever you can reveal to us.
Yeah, so all these things are very confidential, but I can just briefly tell you, like, an example of something. So there was this person, and I mean, there are lots of clients, but I'll give you like a brief understanding of what
Sure.
that looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
So, people come to me with let's say, for example, this ex person comes to me with an overeating issue, and we started from the point of like not being able to lose weight,
Right.
overeating. These were the two complaints, as well as some digestive discomfort. Okay.
Right.
The work we did was into understanding and going deeper to address. First, we obviously did some nutritional tweaks into understanding what suits him, what doesn't suit him. You
Right.
know, what are the kind of food allergies, what are the kind of food sensitivities. We're resetting his meal timings according to his lifestyle.
Right.
This person would constantly overstress at work and stress eat a lot, would
Right.
eat really fast in between, his meetings and things like that. So no proper
Right.
time, sometimes skipping meals, because he's eaten something in the previous night, like a chocolate cake. So the
Right.
next day he skip lunch, just in order to compensate. So things like this, which most of us do.
Right.
We start working on all these aspects.
Right.
Of course, we set all the eating rhythms, we set all of that. But the most important work that we did was in trying to understand why that overeating was happening, why he was skipping that meal, what was the reason. And the reasons were so profound because there was something always to do with performance,
Right.
right? So he was always stressed about how he should be performing at work, at home. He should be looking like a certain way because, of course, again, as I said, the pressure from the society, especially
Right.
people around us. If we put on a little bit of weight also, there'll be some relative telling us you've become fat, or
Right.
you
Yeah.
put on a little bit of weight. And even if we become thin, they'll say, oh my god, you've not been eating at all, you've
Yeah.
lost weight. So that constant. So this was a big thing that we discovered, that was it was such a small thing that when you see it in a large perspective, but that was the reason that he was constantly overeating.
Right. Right.
To compensate for these emotions, and then
Right.
to perform better at work, to perform better in life. It was this constant underlying stress for finance and things like that. And then his way of coping was food.
Right.
And food, obviously, which kind of food? More carbs, more fatty food, more fried food, more junk food, because that is what gave him pleasure.
Right.
And
Right.
then we were able to tackle all of these. And he ended up losing a lot of weight. He ended up, and forget the weight. I don't even think that is as important. It is a byproduct. But today, he is at a healthy weight. And also at the same time, he does not, whether he eats fries from McDonald's or he eats a healthy gluten-free pasta. Whatever it is that he's eating, he's not overeating it. He
Right.
knows when to eat, when to stop. He started getting in touch with his hunger. That happened, as well as his overall performance at work started improving because he started using so much more energy. Rather than stressing, we converted that energy into productivity.
Right. Right.
Less procrastination started happening.
Right.
Right? So not only that, but also his team started appreciating him as a leader more.
Right.
So this was a kind of, so by changing one thing, there are a lot of different areas of your life that ultimately see the results, not only your body and your weight, but your overall quality of life.
Right. Right. I think that's right. A large part of who we are and what we feel, the way we act, and the things we do comes from the food we eat or our hunger and stuff like that. So I think that beautifully kind of puts things into its place. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, in today's times, of course, we're living in testing times. And having said that, all of our routines per se have just gone for a toss, with people working from home, their bed being their workstation, their bed also being their dining table, and just everything, right? So what do you have to say, or what are your observations from the pandemic, and what are routines looking like, and how has that kind of helped you better understand how people perceive their relationship between their body and the food that they consume?
Yeah. So, everybody's pandemic journey is different because of the lockdown and the situation that we are in.
Right.
So some of us are living alone, some of us are living in joint families, some of
Right.
us have staff, some of us don't have that convenience of staff. So we
Right.
are ending up doing a lot of other things, which we've never done before, like cooking, cleaning, just everything.
Right.
That being said, if you are caught in the middle of a difficult situation, maybe
Right.
with a lot of people, doing a lot more work than usual apart from your usual work,
Correct.
uh, it is a good idea. So I can give you like 2 to 3 pointers that I have noticed for myself that have worked.
Sure.
Again, try it out, probably will work for you. But one is to make a clear distinction of boundaries in terms of work timings and non-work timings.
Right.
Of course, there are days when work seeps over and consumes, that one email that you have to send, or that one uh, design that you have to create, or that one draft that you have to, whatever.
Right.
Sometimes that's okay, but try to create a boundary.
Right.
At the same time, be a little fluid about it. It doesn't have to
Right.
be strict. So that will give you the allowance to flow better and also structure your life better. So at
Okay.
least you know that there's a start time and an end time.
Correct.
Yeah, of course, like on some days when important works come, but those are still some days, not
Right.
every.
Right. Right.
That would be a really important observation. We don't realize our boundaries in terms of that. And secondly, as you said, working from the bed, eating on the bed, sleeping on the bed, it can be very tempting to stay in bed all day because it feels really comforting to
Right.
be. Uh, but it does somehow have an effect on your productivity going lower because our brain associates bed with comfort.
Right.
Complete comfort, complete relaxation. When
Right.
you are working in that relaxation pool of yours,
Right.
two things will happen. Your productivity can go low and your sleep can get
Right.
affected,
Right.
right? So both will have effects on vice versa because now you are associating that relaxation space with a workspace. That means that when you're going back to sleep, it might not be the best quality of sleep because your brain is now trained to also work and think in a different manner in that boundary that you had of your bed. Secondly,
Right.
work might not be as good. It's a good idea to get up from the bed, even if it's a table or even if it's a small, like, like a small foldable thing.
Table.
If
Yeah.
you want to sit on the floor, put a pillow, put that thing. If you can sit on the dining table, just move rooms. Just
Right.
switch to have the capacity to. If there are no limitations in the house, even if there are
Right.
limitations, you have to stay in your own room. Then at least sit on a study table or sit on the floor with a little table stool. That
Right.
is, of course, that can be done. But leave your bed
Right.
at
Right.
least for a few hours. You can always go back out every 1 to 2 hours to rest on that bed for 15 minutes, but then get out again. So this is a good way of starting that transition.
Right. Right. I think it kind of, so in the starting of the lockdown, I was back in my college PG. So I was in just one room and I had just the bed. So it kind of reminds me of how I was in the bed, but I was conscious that, this one place is kind of making me feel stuck. So I used to move around to feel a little more comfortable. So I definitely find that relatable and it makes a lot of sense. Which kind of brings me to another question, which is if you could give us maybe some ways that you use that you have found very effective in general to kind of detox and stay calm, especially during these testing times, because it is very difficult. And like you said, some people have support, some don't. Some people are, for some people, these times it's just been a little more trying than the others. So any kind of positive, what have you been doing to kind of stay positive? Before you answer, guys, if you have any questions, please drop them and we will make sure that Ridhi answers them. Ridhi, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Well, so there are so many things that you can do. I have actually been making sure I go for my walks
Right.
because it's a very calming activity. And
Right.
set those boundaries that we create between work and play,
Correct.
to mark those boundaries with any small activity. It could be a
Right.
bath, like a
Right.
bath
Right.
marks that transition. It could be just simply, if you don't have the time, just change your clothes.
Correct.
It could be that little walk that you go for 20 minutes. It could be a yoga routine. It
Right.
could be just having a warm cup of tea or coffee, or just some green tea, whatever it is, like sitting with yourself and being a little more mindful
Right.
in these trying times, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes of mindfulness.
Right.
That really, really has helped me mentally and physically detox
Right.
in today's trying times, actually.
Right. I'm just checking to see if we have any questions. Um, if not, I mean, while I'm still waiting to see if we have any questions, okay, for those who kind of joined in late, who have just joined in, any one last thought that they should go away with, one last statement, one last parting thought, perhaps that will kind of summarize the entire thing that we've been talking about.
Yes, guys, don't stress too much. I understand, like, some of us have lost weight, some of us have put on a lot of weight, some of us, weight is a big concern. We are constantly searching for answers about what to do next, and which diet should we follow, what is the next immunity drink that we should have, what is the next best thing that we should be doing. For a minute, guys, everybody, we already have a lot of information already. We have consumed a lot. So all I want to say is take all of that in, right? Just pause for a moment whenever you can and literally start applying everything that you have taken in, because there is no end to the amount of information that you can consume today.
Right, right,
Right? So just that being said, start applying more than consuming, like increase your application more than your consumption.
right,
uh, and you will actually start seeing really good changes in the next coming weeks. Like, make it like a thing, like, okay, I'll take away one thing today from this talk, for example, and even that one thing that you take away, try applying only that one thing for the next 1 week.
right, right,
That itself is more than enough, rather than trying to make a note of everything and then trying to apply that all, because don't put so much pressure on yourself. There is already
right,
a lot of pressures around us, so
right,
be easy on yourself. That's all I want to
right.
say.
Right. I think just be kind and nice to yourself as well, apart from the people around you. Having said so much, I'm hoping there are people who would like to get in touch with you. So how does one do that? How does one get in touch with you?
So you can email me, you can DM me, you can follow me on Instagram, and you can get in touch with me for a one-on-one session. So the first session that we'll conduct will be like a quick 20-30 minute chat that I'll have with you, that's completely free. And after that, you and I will get a better understanding of what the work is, and if you would like to pursue it further, and even I will understand what your journey is, and that's how I take it from there with all the clarity.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that sounds great. When we put up this video, once it's out, we will definitely, tag you and put details so that people can get in touch with you. Thank you so much. I don't think we have any questions. I'm assuming people would directly want to reach out to you. So thank you so much, Ridhi. Thank you so much for giving us your time on a Friday evening, on a festival day, and helping us kind of pick your brains and indulge in understanding the relationship between body and food. I have definitely learned a little bit, if not anything. So I definitely hope people would have also learned. So thank you so much once again, Ridhi. I hope that you stay safe and stay positive. Thank you guys for joining us. Like I said, this is Dialogues That Matter, an interview series where we talk to change makers. We have a couple of more interviews coming up. If you guys know of anybody that we should talk to, please do let us know. We're more than happy to connect. Until then, stay safe and stay positive. Thank you guys, and happy Ganesh Chaturthi in advance. Bye, Ridhi. Thank you so much.